as ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello there, welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Gift or Gete. In our major story, Emir of Mubi in Adamawa State declines stay over safety aftermath of visits to his domain. Also in this program, Army restates commitment to end insurgency in northeast Nigeria. Aggrieved PDP members protest emergence of Senior Najibola as party's governorship candidate in Kwara State for 2015 election. Outside Nigeria, Russia threatens to retaliate against United States if fresh sanctions are issued by President Barack Obama in Moscow. Thanks for staying tuned with us. Now, details of the headlines and other stories. We begin with Mubi. Following the recapture of Mubi town and its environs in Adamawa State by the Nigerian military, the Emir of Mubi has visited the community in company of the state governor, Balangilari, who was represented by his chief of staff. Martin Dixon reports that normalcy has since returned to the area.
A group of women thanking the state government and service chiefs for their intervention and dislodging the Boko Haram terrorists from the town. They are back on the farm harvesting their crops. The level of destruction at Maraba Mubi is overwhelming. With houses and business centers destroyed, some are burnt down. Bullet marks are seen on buildings all over the place.
Destroy the foundation.
Yeah, completely.
So even now, the one they said to that intermediate peer is not
A few people are seen in Mubi town, signifying a return of peace and calmness to the troubled commercial city. The Commissioner of Police says the police are already stationed in the town to maintain peace and order.
The assessment is what you are seeing now. You see that everywhere is peaceful. Everywhere is peaceful, and we thank God for the work being done by the forces. As you can see yourself, everywhere is peaceful, and we appeal to everybody to come back and continue with their normal business.
On his first visit since the attacks in Mubi, the Emir of Mubi, Abubakar Isa Ahmadu, says he returned with the aim of staying in his palace, but found out that the palace has been vandalized.
When I entered inside the palace, I found that they have bungled a lot of things in the palace. The doors, the windows are all bungled. Some of the items are missing. So when these things are placed and set to normalcy, I will come back. But of now, I have nowhere even to stay. Even my doors are broken. Some of the products have been stolen. Even 3 of my cars have been stolen. But that one does not matter. But the doors and the windows are bungled. and some of the items have been stolen, which I will not tell you. Do you see? So when these are taken to police and those are taken to shape, I will soon come.
Speaking after the inspection, Adamawa State Governor, represented by the Chief of Staff, Jibadu Tijani, sounded optimistic that the ban on vehicular movement from Hong to Mubi and Michika will be lifted soon, following the return of peace to the area.
We thank the Executive Governor of Adamawa State, Barrister James Ngilari, for the political will and support. We thank all the security agencies who stood by us in Adamawa State, and as you can see, the people of Mubi are very happy by seeing us in town.
Mubi and its environs is now under the full control of Nigerian forces, and they are reported to have also recaptured Michika local government area. The government has pleaded with those who ran away to go back to their houses as normalcy has returned to the troubled towns. The challenge that residents of the area will encounter will center around rebuilding their houses and businesses. Picking up the pieces of their lives will definitely require assistance. Martins Dixon, CoreTV News, Yola.
Even though the military says many towns have now been retaken, including the commercial hub of Mubi, those internally displaced from the town have, like their monarch, also decided to stay away from home over what they termed precarious security situation. They recount their experiences in the hands of the dreaded Boko Haram insurgents in this report.
Boko Haram killed 2 of Rebecca's 4 children. She fled her home and has been in this camp in northeastern Nigeria for the past months. This camp shelters just a few hundred of an estimated 1.5 million people who are internally displaced in Nigeria, fleeing the attacks by the terrorist group.
For the past 3 years, we have been enduring insurgents' attacks. Recently, we were driven out from our communities by the insurgents. We ran into the bush and found our way to this camp. They killed a lot of people and burnt our houses.
Living conditions here are basic and at least they are safe. So far, Yola has not been attacked. Boko Haram has never made any raids within 100 kilometers of here. Even so, people in the camp are worried. Ayuba used to sell Bibles in Mubi near the border with Cameroon. He fled when he saw the army forced into retreat by Boko Haram.
The military leave us there. That's why everybody in Mubi started run.
Humanitarian NGOs and religious groups are working to help those who have been forced to leave their homes and their livelihoods with only the few possessions they could carry.
On a weekly basis, we invite those that are living with family and friends in order to come and collect some foodstuff here, what will be able to take care of a family of 5 for at least 1 week.
13,000 people have been killed since the beginning of Boko Haram's insurgents in 2009. The army seems unable to bring the terror threats to an end, leaving the displaced facing an uncertain future, waiting for the day they will be able to return home.
The Nigerian army has reaffirmed its determination to win the ongoing war against the Boko Haram insurgents. Acting Brigade Commander 23, Armored Brigade of the Nigerian Army, Yola, Abba Pokbola, stated this on Saturday while decorating 3 newly promoted senior officers of the brigade. Pokbola said that the battle could only be won when officers and men of the brigade and others deployed for the operation improve their skills and intelligence network. He gave an assurance that the Nigerian army would continue to provide all necessary logistics and encouragement to enable those engaged in the battle to excel. Pokbola stressed that the welfare of such officers would be given special attention on a regular basis. The acting brigade commander said that the newly promoted officers deserved their new ranks. He reminded the officers that in the Nigerian army, the higher one goes, the hotter it becomes. Responding on behalf of the newly promoted officers, Gaba pledged their loyalty to the army as the new ranks would ginger them to redouble their services to the nation. APC candidate for the 2015 election, Muhammad Buhari, has condemned the recent bombings in Kano and Jos, saying the actions of the terrorists not sanctioned by any religion will not succeed. In a statement by the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate made available to journalists on Saturday, Buhari said the nation will overcome its present challenges. He commiserates with the victims and their family members while praying that God will grant repose to the souls of the departed and comfort those who lost loved ones. He also urged other Nigerians to demonstrate their time-tested compassion by providing support and succor to those affected in their hour of need. Buhari assured the long-suffering fellow citizens who have borne the brunt of the almost daily senseless attacks that help is on the way. With the emergence of President Goodluck Jonathan and Muhammad Buhari as presidential candidates of the PDP and APC ahead next February poll, Nigerians will again have the opportunity of choosing who among the two, as well as the candidates of other parties, will best rule the country come 2015. So what qualities are Nigerians waiting to see in the leadership that will steer the nation's ship in the next dispensation? Find out the answers in this report by Oluwaseyi Adegoke.
The much-awaited presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress has finally emerged in the person of Muhammadu Buhari. And with President Goodluck Jonathan emerging the People's Democratic Party's consensus candidate, the stage is now set for the two major political parties in Nigeria to slug it out at the 2015 general polls. With rising inflation and economic downturn, coupled with endemic corruption and rising insecurity, Nigerians are stiff worried over the kind of leadership will bring them succor. So, who in the opinions of these average Nigerians is best suited for the job come 2015?
A God-fearing president to be president of Nigeria, someone that fears God should be the president of Nigeria. Have the woman being feelings, not just a president that take money, embezzle money.
You know, we are suffering in this Nigeria. We are looking for the one that's going to change and give us better economics in this Nigeria.
We need a God-fearing president. A God-fearing president. A president that will think that he can die tomorrow. You know what I mean? So if you have such a president, I thought that Nigeria can move forward.
This political analyst, however, advised Nigerians to do away with sentiments when picking their choice of president in 2015.
You know, but the reality is that the people are going to make a choice. The only thing that worries me about the choice that the people might make is the fact that sentiments based on the geopolitics of this country, based on religion and so on, might play a part. And whenever such sentiments play a part in determining political leadership, a mistake is usually made. You know, so we have to be as objective as we can in making this very important choice when we go to the polls.
A Lagos-based lawyer, G.T. Ogunye, is worried about the spate of corruption in the country. For him, the nation's problems in other areas will end if the issue of graft is tackled with all seriousness. He added that the next presidential leadership must develop the required political will to fight the menace to a standstill.
The kind of president that we all need in 2015 is that man that can offer responsible and constructive leadership. A man that has the courage of his own convictions, who is willing, ready, and able to tackle the monster of corruption.
For his part, a political scientist, Dele Ashiru, seeks a diligent president for Nigeria come 2015 and thereafter.
We need a government that is knowledge-driven, that is hard-working, diligent on his duties. I mean, not a flamboyant and deceitful and not too stellar individual as the president of Nigeria. I think today we need a president who is well-informed, who is courageous enough to take decisive decisions. And we need a president who will be prepared to rock the boat. Unless they rock the boat in Nigeria, Nigeria may continue to wallow in this endless pit of indolence.
If wishes were horses, beggars would ride, so says a popular adage. How this come to play in the quality of the president's Nigerian speak come 2015 is best imagined at this moment in time. But time, they say, is the ultimate judge. Oluwaseyi Adegoke, CoreTV News, Lagos.
It's CoreTV Prime Time News Weekend Edition. Aggrieved PDP members protest the emergence of Simeon Ajibola as party's governorship candidate in Kwara State. Find out more when we return after this timeout. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV Primetime News. Here's a quick reminder of some of our major headlines. Emir of Mubi in Adamawa State declined stay over safety aftermath of visit to his domain. Army restates commitment to end insurgency in northeast Nigeria. PDP members protest emergence of Simeon Ajibola as party's governorship candidate in Kwara State for 2015 election. Do not forget that you can also reach us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTVNews. On Twitter, at CoreTVNewsNG. And on YouTube, it's youtube.com/CoreTV with the space news. Scores of people believed to be members of the People's Democratic Party in Kwara State on Saturday protested over the emergence of the senator representing Kwara South, Simeon Ajibola, as a Kwara State PDP governorship candidate. The protesters, who marched around some streets near the PDP secretariat at Ilorin, could not, however, gain entrance to the secretariat and therefore laid siege at its gate to express their disapproval of Ajibola's emergence. They said PDP cannot win in Kwara State, with Ajibola, who emerged winner with 144 votes at the rescheduled PDP governorship primary on Thursday. They sang war songs and carried placards with different inscription denouncing Ajibola as a candidate that would bring victory to the party. They appealed to the leaders of the party, both at the state and national levels, to choose another person that can win Kwara for the PDP. Meanwhile, the Minister of National Planning, Abubakar Larinwaju, has pleaded with the aggrieved members of the party and the residents who felt disappointed over Ajibola's PDP candidacy to be calm and resist taking laws into their hands. A former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Okwezilie Nwodo, is set to battle the incumbent chairman of the party, Adamu Mwazu, and other members of the National Working Committee over the outcome of the party's senatorial primary conducted in Enugu North Senatorial District. The former national chairman of the party is said not to be comfortable with the party's subtle plan to adopt the result of the primary submitted by the electoral panel led by Anthony George Manzo, which was said to have declared Chukwuka Utazi as a party's candidate for Enugu North Senatorial Zone. At the Manzo-led election, which was held at Government Field in Nsukka, Utazi polled 324 votes to beat Nwodo, who scored mere 4 votes, while another aspirant, Martin Oke, scored 3 votes. Nwodo was, however, pronounced winner of the election at another primary. A member of the party's NWC, however, said that the party has taken a position to recognize the result submitted by Manzo, who incidentally is the Chief of Staff to Senate President David Mark. One of the leading governorship aspirants of the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State, Tonye Princewill, has now opted for the Labour Party. He has also been offered the party's governorship ticket. Princewill said in a statement made available to journalists that he chose Labour Party instead of quitting politics. The former PDP member explained that he feels at home with the social democratic ideology and the detailed manifesto of the Labour Party because the policies are not different from his position. He also urged aggrieved politicians from the 2 leading parties in Rivers State to consider teaming up with the Labour Party. The defiance of a court order by former President Olusegun Obasanjo over the publication and launching of his new book, My Watch, has not stopped to generate reactions. This time, the Commission of Justice and Attorney General of Ekiti State, Owoseni Ajayi, while speaking with selected journalists at the briefing, berates Obasanjo for disrespecting court order and described him as a lord of manor. Here again is Rashid with the report.
The Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Ekiti State, Owoseni Ajayi, says the eventual publication and launching of ex-President Obasanjo's autobiography in the face of a court order was a serious breach of the law.
In the lexicon of our legal jurisprudence, a court order, however frivolous, must be obeyed until discharged by that court or set aside by a superior court. It is therefore a deliberate impunity and disregard to the rule of law and our judiciary for Chief Olusegun Obasanjo to disobey the said order made by a competent court of law.
When asked if Obasanjo may be acting contrary to the court order due to one technical default or the other in the Constitution, Owoseni says Obasanjo has no hiding place under the law.
Even admitting publicly that there was a court order stopping him for publishing and circulating was sufficient enough for me to know that he ought to have given respect to the judiciary. So, hiding under other logistics, other technicalities, will not solve the problem of flouting the court order.
Making reference to portions in the book where Obasanjo maligned all past and current leaders of Nigeria, Owoseni says the former president is not a saint either.
Chief Olusegun Obasanjo must be told the truth that he is not the saint in the class of our Lord Jesus Christ, while other former and present rulers are satanic agents to be sent to the gallows for persecution.
The court injunction to stop the book launch was obtained by a chieftain of the PDP in Ogun State, Buruji Kasham. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
Nigeria is set to obtain a total grant of $667 million from Global Fund to support its effort to contain malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis. According to officials of the country coordinating mechanism, the agreement for $320 million meant for malaria would be signed in January next year, while the process for HIV and TB will be concluded in June. The audit that great milestones have been recorded in the last couple of years with continued support from the fund.
In the last 1 to 2 years, given the reforms within the Global Fund itself, of which I'm a board member, given the reforms within the CCM in the last 3 years, CCM Nigeria, and then given the greater commitment we're able to get from our principal recipients and those other groups called the sub-recipients who actually implement Global Fund programs. That much is being achieved in those 3 areas, those 3 thematic areas of AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Once we get any support from Global Fund, it means we met the counterpart funding. Now, the counterpart funding depends on the domestic financing, what the federal government, what the state governments and local governments are putting into. So we spend time to try and capture this data, articulate the data, and harness the data in such a way that we could say that we are meeting the 15% minimum requirement. So anytime you hear that Global Fund is releasing funds to Nigeria, it tells you clearly that we've made the counterpart funding.
ECOWAS is to introduce biometric identity card in 2016 as part of efforts towards integration of the West African sub-region. This is one of the decisions reached at the meeting of Council of Ministers in Abuja. A communique issued at the end of the meeting indicates that the biometric ID card is to replace the travel certificate currently in use in the sub-region. It ordered that the new biometric identity card is to circulate alongside the national identity card in each member state for a period of time until 2016. The decision is to be presented to the meeting of heads of states and government scheduled for Abuja on the December 14th and 15th for adoption. We'll take another break and return with business, sports and stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on CoreTV News. Welcome back. It's time for business. The Managing Director, Nigeria Deposits and Insurance Corporation, Alhaji Umar Ibrahim, on Saturday said the amendment of the Corporations Act would enable better supervision of the sector. The NDIC wanted the removal of legal obstacles placed against moves and efforts to pay depositors in case of liquidation by going to court to forestall the amendment. He said the corporation also wanted to be able to sanction erring management or directors that contributed to the downfall of insured institutions in the country. In order to create a world-class airport terminal, the Aviation Minister Chidoka Osita says 22 airports owned by the federal government with latest equipment and infrastructure have been upgraded. The federal government has also completed the first phase of airport rehabilitation project with 38 billion naira worth of projects, which includes remodeling of 11 airports and are nearing their completion, and the second phase has progressed. However, Nigerian College of Aviation Technology Zaria has commissioned today visual tower stimulator for the training of air traffic controllers and pilots, ASLIM stimulator, and 2 new helicopter bells, 206 among other, were commissioned. And now to sports. Nigeria's Super Saiyan Eagles were beaten for the first time at the Copa Lagos Beach Soccer when they lost 4-5 to Ivory Coast on Saturday. The Super Saiyan Eagles, who have won the 3 previous editions of the Copa Lagos, trailed the Ivorians at the end of the first period by 2 goals. Isiaka Olawale and Musa Najari failed to convert from free kicks before Eric Bile put the San Elephants in the lead from a free kick. Super Saiyan Eagles will face Senegal on Sunday, while Senegal needs to beat Ghana to become champions of the 2014 edition of the Copa Lagos. Nigeria's under-20 football team, the Flying Eagles, on Saturday dismantled Zaria club Standard FC 12-0 in their latest test game to fine-tune preparations for the 2015 African Under-20 Championship, which will hold in Senegal. The Nigeria Under-20s were in merciless form all through the contest, decided at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium, Kaduna, on Saturday. The Flying Eagles will face off against 7 of the best Under-20 sides from Africa: Congo, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Mali, Senegal, South Africa and Zambia for bragging rights at the 2015 African Under-20 Championships, which runs from March 8 to 22 in Senegal. All 4 semi-finalists from the championships will progress to the 2015 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand from May to June 20th. And now to stories outside Nigeria. Taliban insurgents have killed at least 20 people in a series of gun and suicide attacks in Afghanistan on Saturday, underlying worsening security as US-led NATO forces end their combat mission in the country. A suicide blast wrecked an Afghan military bus in Kabul, killing 7 soldiers, while a senior court official was assassinated in the city and 12 Afghan mine clearance workers were gunned down in the south. 2 NATO soldiers were also killed on Friday in an attack in the east of Afghanistan, the International Security Assistance Force said in a statement without identifying their nationality. The Taliban claimed responsibility for all the attacks. The latest bout of violence comes ahead of the official end of NATO's war against the Taliban on December 31st, after 13 years of fighting that has failed to thwart the Islamist insurgency. The bloodshed has wreaked claims that the insurgency is weakening and has heightened fears that Afghanistan could trip into a spiral of violence as the US-led military presence declines. NATO's force in Afghanistan will change at the end of the year from a combat mission to a support role, with troops numbers cut to about 12,500, down from a peak of 130,000 in 2010. And now to Russia. Russia's responded angrily on Saturday to news that US senators had passed a bill calling for fresh sanctions against Moscow and the supply of lethal military aid in Ukraine. The Senate bill, dubbed the Ukraine Freedom Support Act, must still be approved by the White House, which has so far been reluctant to provide direct military assistance to Ukraine for fear of being drawn into a proxy war with Russia. The 8-month conflict between government forces and pro-Russian separatists has left at least 4,634 dead and 10,243 wounded, while displacing more than 1.1 million people, according to new figures released by the United Nations. It also threatens fresh sanctions against Russia, whose economy is crumbling under previous rounds of Western sanctions and a collapse in oil prices. Kiev lawmakers have hailed the bill as a historic decision. They have long been pressing the West to provide military support to their beleaguered army, but have so far received only non-lethal equipment. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is set to meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Rome against the backdrop of the hardening U.S. stance. While the U.S. side said the meeting will be held Monday, the Russians say it is set for Sunday. Just before we wrap up our bulletin, a recap of our major headlines. We told you that Emir of Mubi in Adamawa State has declined to stay over safety aftermath of visit to his domain. We also reported that the Nigerian army has restated commitment to end insurgency in northeast Nigeria. Lastly, we brought you a report that PDP members had protested emergence of Simeon Ajibola as party's governorship candidate in Kwara State for 2015 election. That's our show for tonight. On behalf of the entire production crew, I am Gift Ogete. Do have a lovely night rest.